I'll just take a moment, or I just need to mute. I'll just take it. Always a great morning, always a great morning, Monday morning. Mr. Gambu, how have you been, sir?
I've been good. How you been doing?
Been well. Today we have a national strike, a national shutdown. Any thoughts?
Hey, if I comment, it's going to be another hour from my side.
No, it's great, and it's great. I also can't comment at this stage, even though I realize that as a country, we are really need to show our anger sometimes, our feud, our disappointment to, those who are in power. Sometimes we really need to make that felt. So anyway, I am open to the shutdown, especially for the purposes of this, but that's not why we are here today. Today we are talking about the basics of planning your life, time management, and the progress that we all need to see in our lives. And this is important because we're not just hearing this from anyone else, we're hearing this from Thamsanqa Ken Gampu, who is married to TSHEPISO, and he stays in ALBERTON, Johannesburg. Somebody who has a business management background at honors level, and he is currently an operations manager for a multinational company that is based in Johannesburg. Amongst some of his skills, you would see project management, leadership, and customer service. And that is important because we are dealing with an audience that has responsibilities at work, has responsibilities at home, that is following us. And I would really like to hear what you have prepared for us. Anything that you want to say just to open up?
I think planning one's life, it's critical. Right? And then it comes to planning your life. No one should have ownership in that process. You are the captain of your own ship when it comes to life. And when life goes haywire, you must look at yourself and blame yourself. So this session, I'll be striving, disclaimer, just because I'm present in the session does not mean I've got 100% everything right now. It's just a sharing of my heart to see the little progress that I've seen in my life, just to share a little bit of my heart and mind. This is how I got there. Obviously, there are people who've got more expertise this area, but these are just the basics that will see and make you see the progress towards your goals that you've got for your life.
Okay, just as you are starting, why and perhaps what is the purpose of life? Have you rationalized that for yourself? Because yes, we need to plan it. Yes, we need to. What is this gift called life, according to you? What is this purpose? Why are we alive? Why were we given our life here?
Oh, that will come in many different schools of thoughts.
It's
but for me,
isn't it?
to me, life is a gift from God. I believe we are all created beings by God. We're not just created to be consumers in this life. We are created with specific gifts and talents. And the most fulfilling life to me, it's when you use those gifts for the betterment of others. You use those gifts to better the community where you reside, the country where you reside, and eventually the world. Because I don't specifically believe we are here by chance. Where you reside, your location, your address, it is all there for a purpose. And you're supposed to make your little mark in your little corner with your little resources and your little skills of God for the enjoyment of the humanity that we're existing among. So that's my piece of comment there.
I know that's philosophical as well. I'm waiting to hear what you've prepared. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay. So what gave rise to this topic about planning your life, time management, and seeing progress in your life? I think currently I'm reading a book titled The Crazy Busy. And I was just reading this book, I thought came to mind. We are really a busy people in our time and age. I mean, we are bombarded compared to our ancestors. We are bombarded with vast amount of technology at the click of a button. We are bombarded with many choices. When you need to eat, go to the grocery stores, you've got choices. Unlike our ancestors, they had very limited choices. I guess in that regard, there was some benefit to that because they did not have this sea of opportunities like available to us this day. And then while I was thinking about that, I thought about, okay, as you ask a very important questions, all of us are part of these things called life. And sometimes in life, you can find ourselves like in the rut, like in a place, in a state, if I can put it using an equipment from the gym, we find ourselves like we are walking on a treadmill. We are walking, we are expanding ourselves, losing energy, but when we pause, we are still in the same place we found ourselves in. So I thought, no, there must be a way, man. And I needed to introspect myself and see there must be a way of us being able to see traction of all the effort that we're exerting. We must be able to see our own effort and traction in our own life. And then that it always comes back to me. We ignore these things in life called basics, but everything that you see we've got in life, it's made up of basics. If you want to build a house, what's the basic thing you need to do? It's the foundations, it's the small things that make up the big structure in the long term. And I thought, no, we needed to address, obviously, I know people that listen to us. Some of them have got academic backgrounds, some of them are not educated. So we wanted to make it as simple as possible so that everyone who comes across this material, they can apply this in their life and see it can work actually. So I just wanted to speak with regards to that. And then one of the things that I think we need to start with, because of this thing called the journey of life, before you can even speak about where you're going, you need to identify where you're currently at. I think that's the most important thing, because where you're currently at is going to tell you where you want to go, what do you need to take, resources do you need to take. I think the first thing in wanting to see progress in your life and wanting to take step towards that, the first thing, identify where you are, identify your surrounding, identify what resources are available to you, identify people that you can take along, people that can push you and towards that goal that you've got inside for your own life. I think that's the first one. And then when you're doing that step, it's important that you don't become stuck in denial. I think when most people because I don't blame them sometimes because of media such as Instagram, Facebook, some people, when they identify themselves where they are, they tend to identify through the lens of fakeness or through the lens of what people are expecting from them. But it's important as an individual, when you want to go somewhere in life, you must identify realistically where you are. Do I have got the means to get where I'm going? Do I've got the enough training to achieve and to get me where I want to go to myself? So once you've done that steps, you are able to say, okay, now that I've assessed my current situation, what do I want to go with what I have? So the first step, I would think, for that, when you consider where we want to go in life, in whatever, some of us this can apply to your academic life. Some of us, this can apply to your social life. Maybe you want to reach a certain status with your friendship cycles. So this also can apply to your business goals. We all have goals. We all want thing, but first thing, where am I at with regards to that? And then I think the second step, you need to ask yourself, once you have identified, because identifying, you will see what are the weapons I've got, what are the resources, who can assist me? That's number one. Number two, I think when you consider it, number two, we want to find out now, where do I want to go? Now that I've assessed what's available at my disposal, where do I want to go? Obviously, this speaks with regards to your goals. It can be your financial goals. Some of us can be your spiritual goals. Some of us, it can be your social goals. Some of us can be your business goals. And then that's the basic one, the most shortest when I'm going to speak about is your goals. And then your goals, obviously, once you've had them, they must be very smart goals. They must be specific, they must be measurable, they must be attainable, they must be realistic, and they must have a time frame to which you're going to execute those goals. And then I think this third step, this is where I'm going to spend a bit of a time, because you can identify it, you've identified now where you are, what's available to you, and what's your projection, where you want to go. I think now this important step is very crucial, and I think that's where most people, they give up in this step. The question that you want to ask in the third step when it comes to planning and thinking about achieving your goals, how am I going to get there? That's one of the most important steps. How am I going to get? And this speaks about the progressive small steps that you're going to take to achieve the goals you've set in number 1 or number 2 that you want to achieve for yourself. So these, for example, they're broken. I'll break this into two spheres. One of them, you need to have routines. Routines are very, very critical. And then fortunately, some of us, like myself, I learned about routines at the very late stage of my life. If I would have learned routines, I would have been very far compared to where I am. But basically, if routines are just repetitions of actions that you do on a daily basis. Once you do a routine, for example, I'll give you a routine that we all do. When you wake up, one of the routines, we hope everyone listening, the first routine that you do is brush your teeth. That's a routine that is inbuilt in you now because you've been doing it, that your mind and your brain does not even have to trigger itself. It knows that at a certain time, I'm doing a certain thing for this certain amount of time. So what the benefit of routine is, when you are telling yourself you want to go there, what are those routines that I need to do on a daily basis? Okay, for example, let's give a practical daily application of this. For example, let's say I'm a student and then my goal is I want to get distinctions. One of your routines, you must have a specific time where you're going to take your books and you're going to study for a specific amount of time. And that if you do that for a number of days, they usually say habits are established within 40 days. Once you execute those routines of you waking up, let's say routines, and another thing I just want to mention, routines in itself, they are not easily to accomplish and they do not come automatically to us. We need to, if in other words, to train our bodies to conform to those routines. And obviously, as a student, we make an example of the students, you wake up, let's say it's going to require sometimes routines, they have an element, which is if you can been studying any books in your life about leadership, management, there's an element of sacrifice that is always accompanied by routines. Because most of the time when other people are doing other things, maybe on a Saturday, other people are going out and playing sport and doing some hobbies, the routine sometimes will request of you to sacrifice some of your personal pleasures. Obviously, I'm not saying here to people that are listening that, no, you must forgo. No, pleasure and having fun is a God-given gift also. But it's critical that...
Sorry, Ken.
Sorry?
I think you just froze a bit there. You were talking about elements within a routine. Just for 30 seconds, we were frozen there, but you can continue.
Where did it break down?
A minute ago, not very long, when we were talking about
sacrifice.
Some of, you know, what you put into a routine.
Okay, so just saying a routine, when you need to apply it, sometimes there's an element of a sacrifice that goes with it. For example, or you want to sacrifice sometimes your personal pleasure. Let's say an example, your friends and yourself, you will organize a movie outing day on Saturday. But on that specific time, you know that this outing with my friends is colliding with my personal routine of studying. Let's say from 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning, I'll be doing chemistry. So that routine, sometimes it requires of us to be sacrificial with regards to our personal preferences or personal pleasures, which is sometimes part of life with regard to that. But one of the things, that's a small bucket. Routines, in the long term, what they'll do is, it's like exercising. When you're exercising, there's what you call, once you exercise over time, you build what is called muscle memory. that when you have not done that movement with your muscles, you can feel it, but there's something I did not do today. So that's why it's important that in regarding to the question is, how am I going to get there? You have certain routines in your life. You have a certain routine. I've got a time to wake up. That's a routine. You are helping, for example, it's been proven scientifically that people that have got routines, their stress levels are very down because they've got everything in routines. For example, there's a time to wake up and there's a time to go to bed. Unlike us, most of us, when we were growing up, we just went to bed at any time we wanted to, and we struggled to wake up at certain times. But routines, they create a rhythm also in the heart. Okay, this thing needs to be done there. This thing needs to be done at a certain time. So one of the things I would recommend, you want to progress and go forward, establish routines and stick to those routines and say no. I think the biggest temptation when you've got routines, you always have external forces. For example, obviously your friends, sometimes your family, sometimes your work colleagues that want to intrude and intervene and occupy your routine time. So one of the things you need to be firm on when it comes to building your own routines is the power of saying no with a smile. If someone wants you to do something at a certain time and you know, okay, this time I'm doing this, say no, unfortunately, I won't do that. Can we perhaps maybe do it another time? So I think that's very critical that we establish those routines with regard to that. I mean, some families, you've got routines of, in this house, what time are we eating our supper? It's a routine. It's a routine. Some families, they prefer 6 o'clock. Some families prefer 7 o'clock. What time do the kids go to bed? That's a routine. And you're teaching your kids when you do those things at a very young age that life is got this amount of hours and you've got certain times to do certain things. That also create a part of discipline in yourself and also in your children if you've got kids, that I can do whatever I need to do, but at a certain time, this is time for this. This is time for fun. This is time for working. This is time for taking responsibility. For example, this time is for washing dishes. So routines, I think they are very critical when we consider this thing of achieving goals in your life and seeing progress. And then together with the routines, I think it's important you need to have a schedule. You need to have a schedule. A schedule, basically, in our day and age, we've got a vast amount of tools that are available to our disposal. Personally, the one I use so much, too much, I put all my activities on my schedule on my Google Calendar. So basically, a schedule is telling you at a certain time of the day, you need to be doing a certain activity. And then once you track that over time, you will see that your week and your day and your hours, they amount to something. You just don't wake up and then the day has flown over your head, but you have not achieved any progress or any activity. But sometimes we have this misconception that when I see people on TV achieving all of this and all this, they just got there by chance. No, it's progressive. It's how they manage their minutes. It's how they manage their hours, how they manage their day, how they manage their week, and how they manage their month. And that amounts to all the progress that you see. And then it's critical, obviously, in both this, when you're doing your routines and you're doing your scheduling, there's the word that we need to be considering of. It's called flexibility. Flexibility is when life throws at us unexpected curveballs. And obviously, for example, let's say your routine at 6 o'clock, it was for you to guys have supper, and one of your kids or your spouse stumbles over something in the house and breaks their ankle. Obviously, there needs to be flexibility there. And that flexibility, obviously.
I think you're breaking again. You were talking about...
okay.
If one...
Okay, I can see your screen is freezing also from my side.
Recap that we need to...
Okay.
Oh, you're back.
I'm back, yeah.
So you were just talking about maybe one's routine at 6 o'clock and then you need to accommodate flexibility.
Yes, I was just saying, just make it in all your planning, in your routines, in your schedule, have this thing called flexibility. It's when life throws curveballs and obviously the situation becomes out of control. That event in itself, when it occurs, it has a ripple effect in the entire day. So what you want to do is you don't want to be rigid in your planning and your routines. Make flexibility, because life in itself has got uncertainties that happen and you need to navigate yourself around that. And then once you do that, your routines obviously will still continue. You might have to catch up in certain areas, but your routines are still intact, but make room for flexibility. Don't plan, because once you don't make room for flexibility, you are setting up yourself for failure. You are setting up yourself for frustration that is unnecessary with regards to that. And then once you've got your routines, you'll see that once you do your routines on a daily basis, they become a part of you. Once you do them, they become a part of you. I think one of the things, personally, my weakness, which I'm still working on it, is people disrupting my routines by simply trying to accommodate them. And one of the things that people, they disrupt their routines. One of them, maybe you're trying to be a people pleaser. You can't say no with people because you're afraid this people's relationship is going to be dissolved because of that. But at the end of the day, remember, as I've said at the beginning, you are the captain of your own life. When things happen in your life, you cannot blame outside forces. You must blame yourself. You must say, okay, I had this opportunity, I had this time in my life. What did I do with it? So one of the things that I see people, they become disrupted when it comes to routines. It's trying to be people pleasers. Everyone that comes with an invitation to you, you said yes, yes, yes. One of the things that I do now, when someone comes with an invitation to me, I say, okay, give me some time. I'll get back to you. What do? I go back to my schedule. I say, okay, the time that you're requesting me to come and engage with you or have a coffee with you, is it not disrupting one of my routines? And then I say, okay, if it's not, okay, I can come. If it is, I can suggest a time that is further down during the week so we can be meet. And then the final one, which is just the reviewing of what you've been doing. So you've been doing your routines. Now, the last step you want to continuously doing is reviewing. Okay, against where I wanted to be in this time of my life. Let's say I had this financial goal in my business to generate profits of $1 million during the course of the year. 3 months, every 3 months, I go and I review how are we tracking against that progress of doing that profit. And then constantly, you need constant feedback in this one. You can't lie to yourself. And I also recommend that if you're doing this reviewing part, call someone that you know that you've shared your vision or your goal to give you honest feedback and say, how do you think I'm tracking towards this? And obviously, when you're dealing with numbers, let's say, for example, you are designing to lose weight. In a personal example, you track yourself against the numbers. If my weight was to be 85 kgs, if I'm still 90, there's a problem. And then I need to go back and review. What am I eating? What is this? What is this? Just a small session for today for that. Not sure if it made sense. Any comments from your side?
Yeah, no, it makes sense, man. I think I'll pick up a couple of things. Of course, you started off by saying people must be honest in locating where they are. They must be honest to say that this is where I am, this is what I have, these are the resources. And then you went to look at the destination, the place where they want to be, they want to go to. And then employing whatever you have in your disposal in order to get them. And you talked about how do you then build a vision where you need to get to it now, or just maybe go or use the term a vision, you use a goal. I would, if we are looking at organizations and dealing with organizations, that strategic goal, the strategic vision that they normally have is sometimes where most organizations start building wrong goals and actually going everywhere else where they actually don't need to go because they are not clear as to where they have to be going. And then you talk about smart, that goals must be smart, and then the routines that build up and saying no. I wanted to share, I actually am reading this book. Let me share so that people can see this book. It's The Death of the Past, and it's written by J.H. Plum. A friend of mine gave it to me, and I'm really appreciative of the book, and partially because it talks about look what history does. What is history? What is the past? Excuse me, and how have we been using history and the past in order to fortify one's presence and superiority on the day currently, and this is used by governments and things like that. And now you are talking about the importance of planning and being deliberate and assessing what you have. And I wanted to find out if maybe as you plan to, this is still philosophical, as you plan for the future, what are these things from the past that keep on creeping up, that preclude or stop people from planning appropriately? What are these things that cause people to be stuck and drag and not be able to actually look forward into the future? What are these impediments that gets us dragging towards a point where we need to actually be planning for the future?
I think from us as in considering our apartheid past, I think one of the things that keeps us as Black people, or specifically speak to us as a Black people, is this idea that what is the point of us planning for the future? Because we know our current state is owned by white people, and whatever we do, they will make sure that we don't progress. So people, they've got that mindset, but no, what's the point of planning? We just go with the flow. We're just gonna work, we're just gonna go to varsity, equip myself, but we know at the end of the day, nothing is gonna change. I think the danger with that, I mean, I always ask people, even as those that I went to varsity with, tell me which white person stopped you from going to varsity? Which white person stopped you from getting married? Which white person stopped you from starting your own business? No one. So we can't obviously deny and put in a closet and think like our apartheid past never happened in this country. It did happen. But we can't allow that to stop us and make us to be able to think, because as Black people, I mean, we have got so many inventions that we did. That should in itself motivate us to say, okay, my forefathers and my ancestors, we created the peanut butter, we created the robots, we created this, we created this. I think I can fall in one of the lines of people that can come up with a new invention. I can think we can do A, B, and C. I think we need to get out of that cocoon, but sometimes what the trap is and the hole that we fall into as Black people, we have this thing, we don't have, most of us, a reference point to come to say, okay, my uncle used to do this, my uncle used to do this. If you look at our vast majority of us Black people, our past, it's messed up, if you can use a literal word, it's messed up. And we don't have anyone we can say, okay, I want to be like this one day, I want to be like this. But in our days and age, we've got people that it says, listen, we can change ourselves as a people. We don't depend on anyone. There is no race that is superior than any other race. We are well able, we are smart people. We can use our brain that God gave us to think of things to better humanity, to better ourselves, and to come up with solutions to problems that our economies are facing. I think that's one of the biggest things for us as a Black nation.
Because I was talking again in December with one of my younger cousin brothers. In fact, yes, he's my cousin. He could literally be my nephew. He didn't go far in school, and I can see he has no intentions of going back to high school. And then I'm talking to him about this idea of starting to change the little things around you. You know, as you are sitting around the house, you just see that this cup is sitting here, it's supposed to be sitting there. Then you just, as you pass, you just take it and put it where you know it's supposed to be. And as you are walking, and then there's something on the ground, on the floor, and then you just take it and put it where. And then in no time, people change their view of who you are, because they can see that as you pass in your environment, little by little, the environment gets better, as opposed to the environment being worse because of your presence. And you have not even asked anyone else to do anything. You have not even been given money or taken money or anything. You are just using just a personal agency in order to change the environment. In no time, you see there's a dirty, plate there. You, in your own initiative, you're like, okay, let me just clean that one. Maybe not everything that I'm not going to wash clothes or start doing spring cleaning, but I'm just going to take care of these dishes right now. And I'm saying to him that if you become that person, in 3 months' time, you would have changed completely your outlook, your environment, and people love somebody who solves little problems and who are not adding problems into their lives.
Mm.
And I'm using this small example, and I'm wondering if you have similar example, maybe that you can share with your nephews and nieces of what are these small things that one can do to start planning and changing their lives.
I think that's a great example. Let me just say the example you just gave is just a great example. And I think one of the things that from my side that I can give an example, especially with the younger generations, teenagers to high school, I think one of the things you need to be very uncomfortable, man, in entertaining yourself around a disorderly environment. I think it ties up with what you said. I mean, if, for example, there's a reason, I think some of the things that our moms that we grew around, that they did to us that we unconsciously, we are unaware how they will impact our view and perspective about life. The small things of waking up, when you're waking up, for example, and doing your bed, that thing, it creates, as I'm saying, it links up to what you've mentioned. When you wake up and do your bed, when you wake up and do the small things, it causes you that when you are grown up, you are able to be responsible for your own environment and your own space. It also gives you that ability to say, listen, this is where I slept. This is the environment I'm in. If I take care of this place, I don't need anyone from the outside to tell me what to do. First of all, that small exercise of doing your bed, it trains you something very unique about leadership. It's trains you about taking initiative. No one tells you to do these things. Out of your own fruition, you are saying this is wrong, as you've mentioned also in your example, this is wrong and I need to fix it. When you grow up and you put those skills in your life, they will take you very far. They will take you very far, and make sure that there's a public good. I always say there's a public good mentality in the South African space. The public good mentality says, if it's used by everyone, I don't need to take care of it. I mean, if you look at the state of our parks, if you look at the state of our libraries, if you look at the state of everything, if it's a public good, I don't need to use it. But if you've got people that's coming from homes that are saying individually saying, if I'm using this, I need to keep it in this order. I need to leave it in this order. Basic example, my moms taught us when you use the bathroom, when you arrive there, whatever you've done, leave it in the most cleanest state so that when the next person arrives and uses it, it's in a beautiful state. And you can see that ripple effect of those small things that are not done at the home stage, in the home vicinity, they are having a ripple effect in the public sectors. I'm not sure if it makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then I want to go back again to this question of goals. And every time when you mention goals, I think vision. I think vision. When do you know when the goal is unreal, unattainable? Where and what determines this goal, its validity, and this vision, its reachability? I'm saying this because I know, when you start ahead and then you have all these goals and say, I'm going to lose like 50 kilograms.
Yes.
I'm going to lose 50 kilograms, from my 150 kilogram weight. I'm going to do A, B, and C. And then by February, you are already eating all the chocolate from Valentine's Day and things like that. So the practicality and how big should a goal be, and how does one work out what is reasonable within the place where they are? How would you think of that?
I think any goal, it can be any size, but I would recommend, for example, a goal for you to, let's say, for example, my goal was to go to California. Let me make a practical example. I wanted to fly for the first time and go to the United States and California. I need to start in increments towards attaining that goal. And for example, this most basic thing, can I just plan? Can I test myself in terms of planning? Can I plan a trip just from Joburg to Cape Town as the first step? Once I get to plan that goal, and then I take a learning from that. Okay, I learned this thing. If you buy airline tickets, a month or two in advance, you pay cheaper. If you buy it closer to the day of departure, you pay a high price. So I've got this goal, long-term goal, but the short-term goals, I've tested myself with these short-term goals. Once I've did all my learnings in the short-term goals, and like you say, let me start another one, let me just go further. Can I go within the vicinity of where I reside now and plan myself a ticket to go to Angola? And then there's a huge dynamic now, because now it's outside where I reside. There's visa applications that need to be done. There's customs that I need to go through. There's research that I need to go to. When I get to Angola, what are the customs, what are the cultures, what are the taboos that I don't need to do when I arrive in Angola? Once I achieve that, you see, by stepping from Cape Town, traveling to Cape Town to going to Angola, there's a huge learning that I've closed there. But now it's preparing me for the bigger goal. And then, okay, from Angola now, I can go to California. In Cape Town, this is what happened. In Angola, this is what happened. What did I do? I did some research. I did some ticket research. I did this and this. When I get to the California goal of traveling, I already know this is what I'm expecting, a bit of it. When I get there, I might not have all the knowledge and the base I have, but at least the learnings from Cape Town to Angola is there for me, that when I get there, so it's attainable, that long-term goal. But I would suggest just track yourself in the small increments to see how you get to that goal.
And then we have this microwave mentality of things happening fast. Talk to me about the element of time. The element of time, you know, allowing time to pass, allowing time to also allow your thinking to be clear, your planning to be clear, and knowing that when someone else passes you, it doesn't mean that they are better or faster or anything. It's just the element of time and the goals and the destination. How do you think of that element, that dynamic of time?
Yeah, I think more than money. I think if I was reading just a couple of weeks ago, I think I was listening to a Jeff Bezos interview. Jeff Bezos is the owner and CEO of Amazon. Yeah. And he mentioned something to me that it just blew out my mind, how I got to view that after he said that. He said to him, more important than anything for him, it's his time. His greatest commodity in his life, in his time. And he went to elaborate. He says that, for example, because time is such a great commodity in my life, I do not have any meetings in my life that is before 10 o'clock. And the reason he says that, he says, no, I have a routine. I need to have an 8-hour sleep, a nap time, because to me, that 8-hour sleep time, it rejuvenates me, first of all. My mind is clear to make decisions. I don't have any meetings that make me to think hard and deep things before that time. And when he said that, I thought about this thing of time and time management, and time as we're seeing it in terms of progress compared to others. I think one of the things that we need to understand about time is how you use it. It determines what output you get from it in terms of what are you learning during your time? What hours, during your hours you've got in a certain day, what are you learning? So you'll find out in life, Olwam, most of the time, you've got people maybe who are of the same age of us, but they are way 5 or 10 years ahead of us. And that sometimes it causes people to be frustrated. It causes people to go into debt because they're trying to catch up with those people, which is, I would not recommend people to do that. When someone of your own age and your own status or background is way ahead of you, I think you should go to the drawing board and ask yourself, what is it about this person that they did that got them ahead of me? Obviously, some of them, they might have started with opportunities greater than yourself that were able to spearhead them ahead of you in time with regards to that. But one of the things that you need to understand, there's something significant about time. When you're cooking, time allows you to simmer the food. That it means, sometimes it means you're putting your life together. And if you're gonna fast track some of the things in your life, you're not able to see the result of that time you spent. But one thing I can say about time, it's not gonna give you the same output as your fellow neighbor or someone who comes from the same background as you. So when it comes to time, never compare yourself. The only way that you can take out when people that are ahead of you, ask yourself, what did this person do that I did not do, that he's doing currently? Organize a session with that person. Man, we're coming from the same background. What did you do in these hours? What did you do? How did you get here so fast? But don't be too hard on yourself, because what you're going to end up doing, you're going to end up stressing yourself by unnecessary things that you don't know what the circumstances of that other person is. But times it has a way of building up experience. And one of the things that in closing in this topic here, one of the things that was frustrated when I just stepped out of university was that when I get to the working place, I had a certain salary expectation in mind. And when I got there, I got way more less than that. And I got frustrated, but over time I learned that people that have got experience, which is, it's living in time and space over a long period of time, that's experience, and doing things that are getting results. Well, once you get to that space, as the year goes by, you're acquiring experience. That's why the experience now is requesting more money, because they've proven themselves in that amount of time. I can do these habits, I can do these activities, and these are the results I can attain for that. So I think one of the misconceptions that young people out of university, if I've got an honors degree, I'm going to expect 30,000 grand on my salary, which does not happen. Because why? You've got this thing you don't have, it's called experience. You have unproven confidence in yourself. In other words, that you want this amount of money, but you have not proven to get that results that's required.
Yeah, I understand that clearly. There's this concept, the African sense of time. The European sense of time is quite linear. We count, we're going to like year 200, year 2000, 2020. We are counting progressively and non-stop. And then the African sense of time, according to Muti-san and other people who are doing these African studies, is that it's cyclical, it's seasonal, summer, winter, summer, autumn, winter, spring, and then it goes back again to summer, autumn, winter, spring, and then the fact is the time to sow, this time to reap, the time to be born, the time to be, the cyclical nature that even though time continues and it's progressive, but one must pay attention to the seasons in their lives. And the season now, we know that we are shedding things. We know that this time we are growing leaves. We know that this time we are picking fruit. I wanted to also bring that in as we talk about the sense of time. Yeah, talking about time, really, I think we are running out of time, and thank you. We were meant to be shorter today, but I think it also builds on this conversation of how do we get someone who's stuck somewhere to start thinking and making the right decision. And someone says, you know, I think it's Oprah who says that you must always take the first step, and the first step must be, you know, the first correct step, something good, something that will get you to the next level, or the envisaged sort of destination. Whenever you are in trouble, always ask yourself, what is the next best step so that I can move forward? And when you take a series of those, that routine of taking the first best step, and you end up in a better position than where you are. And I suppose no one can ever do this thing for you. Maybe in your closing, the importance of doing it for yourself, of also testing your own abilities, of looking and touching your own pillars, insika, zako, you know, your parameters. Is there an importance you want to ascribe to that?
I think it sums up by the word of ownership, Olwam. I think we need to understand one of the core values that I've adapted from my business, also from my previous business. I think also they adapted from it's ownership. Understand you are the owner of your life. You are God created, and God placed you in this planet for a reason. No one else is going to take accountability for your own life. Your mom cannot take accountability for your own life. Your dad cannot take accountability for your life, your own culture, your society. You are the one who needs to take ownership of your own life. Your decisions that you made, you must be willing to take the consequences for those decisions. If you've got goals and plans, you must be willing to take the appropriate actions and execution of those plans to achieve your dreams. No one else is going to do it. And you can't blame that on the government. You can't blame that on white people. You can't blame that on your past. You are the one who's responsible for your own life. If you want to lose weight, no magic pill is going to come. You need to put in the hard work to go to the gym, to eat appropriate food for you to be able to do that. If you want to go to business, you need to put in the hours of working your business, learning about how to run a business, how to run management meetings and all of your. The most important thing is as we need to remember, this thing called life, you cannot put the shift and blame on anyone else. You take your own life and you make something out of your own life. With the God-given skills you've got, with the God-given talent you have, you can't blame anyone. And when one day you stay and you sit, they say one of the things that kills people at their old age is regret. Make sure that when you're in your deathbed and you're old, you cannot have the same energy currently you have now. You live your life without regrets. And that's part of taking accountability for your own life. That's my closing remark.
Thank you so much, sir. That was Thamsanqa Gampu, who's married to TSHEPISO, and they stay in JOBURG, ALBERTON. He holds a BA, a BCOM honors degree in business management from Nelson Mandela University. His skills include project management, leadership, customer service, and operations management. And he is currently the operations manager for a multinational company based in Johannesburg, which we do not mention because we want to have you for your own self and your own thoughts. You don't have to carry your employer's brand and all of that. Thank you so much, man. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks, man. Thanks a lot. Let me get her to the gym now. It's been a while.
I'll head to the breakfast table. Cheers.